Hello everyone, and welcome to another royal reading. It's my second reading of today, a Monday, beautiful Monday, apart from the sound effects coming from my neighbour who's doing some DIY, some very noisy DIY. I, for once, am using the Mystic Mondays Tarot on a Monday. There it is, Mystic Mondays Tarot, and I'm using it today because it's a good shiny tarot deck, a bit vulgar, lots of bling in it, and we are talking today about money. Rather dirty subject, isn't it, money? And apparently, allegedly, according to the Sun newspaper, in her last months of life, the late Queen Elizabeth was bombarded with phone calls by Harry begging for money. And when she asked him why he didn't, she obviously wasn't going to hand over the keys to the crown jewels to him. But when she asked him, she was ill, she was incapacitated. And when she said, why don't you speak to your father about it? Why are you phoning me? He said, well, I can't speak to my father. My father isn't taking my calls. And when she spoke to Charles about it, he said, I am not taking Harry's calls anymore. I am not a bank. Told Harry to email instead. So that's, some people are calling this elder abuse. This bombardment, this harassment, this begging that was going on and on and on in the last months. Didn't bother to visit, didn't bother to ask how she was, seemingly, allegedly. And let's remind you, as the Three of Swords pops out there, let's remind you that this is a tarot reading for entertainment purposes, or just my opinion, or speculation and gossip. It is for fun, and there is a disclaimer in the box below. I'm going to do a Celtic cross now. I'm not going to do it from Harry's point of view. I'm not going to do it from the Queen's point of view. I'm going to do it from the now King Charles's point of view. How he feels about all of this, the pressure he's under, why he stopped taking those calls, and just a general. It's going to be a very straightforward Celtic cross. Nothing fancy. I just want to know what's going on. I don't want to know how the Harkles are doing financially. I've read on it, and the very fact that Matt Wilkinson in The Sun was confident enough to write this article saying that Harry was bombarding his grandmother with phone calls, begging for money, tells its own tale, tells that the Harkles were running out of money, despite all these huge deals, running out of money, having to go begging. And Charles not interested. Charles couldn't be bothered to take the calls. We're going to find out why. Celtic Cross explores the situation. I have read on it. It does seem like the Harkles are getting their payday, finally, according to readings I've done quite recently, because of the book, because of Netflix, the reality show. I'm going to call it a reality show. That is what it is in reality. And, or I could call it a mockumentary, and one hopes that that is what's being produced. But I'm rambling. And we've got the Hanged Woman as the underlying energy of this. This is Charles, the Charles reading. This is the being in limbo, being unable to act, feeling powerless, feeling victimized, feeling punished, and waiting. It's a hanging around and waiting energy. That's the underlying energy of this Celtic cross, that King Charles felt like he had to wait for something to happen. His hands were tied. He couldn't really do anything, so it was easier just not to have any dealings with Harry and to make him put it all in writing rather than to have to speak to him because he's waiting for something. I can guess what, but we're not doing that reading today. We are looking at money and King Charles and the situation. Tell us the heart of the matter. What was going on? And we got the Princess of Wands in reverse. That is PR, media, stories cooked up generally by Meghan Markle. Let's call it Oprah interview and things like that. And latterly, the reality show, the mockumentary. It's about media, it's about press, it's about news and stories that are bad news, difficult, attacks. And that is what's going on. That Charles felt he was under attack, unfairly under attack, and helpless and vulnerable and punished and victimized by the stories that have been cooked up by this Princess of Wands. Very female tarot deck, as you may have guessed by now, of this Mystic Mondays tarot. And let's see what's crossing Charles, his problem, his obstacle, his difficulty in this situation, this already difficult situation. And we have the Chariot in reverse. A few things come to mind here. First of all, Prince William saying, don't you dare take those calls. Don't you dare give them money. They want half the Duchy of Cornwall. I'm being snarky here, of course, for entertainment purposes. But they want to get their hands on the loot. Don't you dare. The Cancerian, the Chariot in reverse, saying no, 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 no. But it is also a journey that is stopped with the Chariot in reverse, a path that is blocked, and something that's not going well, a lack of drive, a lack of energy, a lack of progress towards a goal. The Chariot in reverse can also be a level of over-ambition and overdrive that Charles felt he was dealing with. He was dealing with people who were just crazy, pushing all the time, wanting all the time, campaigning all the time, sending out all this negative press all the time, and it was difficult for him. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place, Charles, really. He's caught between this couple that wants and that is sending out their poison barbs all the time, and he's caught on the other side. There's William saying, don't you dare give in to them. So best to just ignore it. It seems to be the wind's away. No, I won't deal with you directly. Send a message to my private secretary. And so why did he stop taking calls? Why did King Charles decide, no, I'm not taking calls from Harry? That is a very painful card. That is a card, as you may recall, came flying out of the deck when I was doing my shuffle and my little spiel at the beginning of the reading. The Three of Swords is the card of betrayal and heartache and loss, real hurt, real heartache, real betrayal. Charles felt betrayed. He supported them. He encouraged them. He was all for the marriage. Harry's found someone, finally, someone who likes the cello and opera and architecture and beautiful buildings, somebody who appreciates the fine things in life. I'm being very sarcastic in case you don't realize that. And he organized the wedding with those singers and with a reverend from the church in America, which nobody appreciated, especially not Meghan. And he was also keen for this whole thing, wanted Harry allegedly to marry a woman who was from a different culture, a different ethnicity than the royals. And look what happened. He's really hurt by this. I see that constantly in my readings on Charles. So here it is again, confirmation. He just couldn't deal with it anymore. So what's his focus now? What is his goal with the Harkles and money? We got Justice in reverse. He's very aware of how unfair all of this is. Justice in reverse. This is not the way things were meant to go. Things are out of whack. They're out of alignment. They're unbalanced, unhinged even, you could say. When he's looking at this situation, he's thinking, how did things go so badly wrong? How did they get so out of control with that Justice card in reverse? How am I ever going to fix this? How am I ever going to put this back together again and balance it and make it harmonious again, which is what he would really like to do, because this is his focus, this is his thought process, this is what he wants to do. How is this ever going to be fixed? The wrongs ever be righted? Wrongs that he has experienced, the late Queen experienced, William and Catherine have experienced, Harry and Meghan feel that they have experienced. How is this ever going to be fixed? Past energy. What was the situation in the past with money? This is from Charles's point of view again. What was going on? And we've got the Hierophant in reverse. That's the royal family. That's the Queen. That's the Taurus. That's the status quo. That's the rules and regulations, but in reverse. Everything was turned upside down. It was turned upside down by Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family. The dog agrees. He's out in the garden having some late afternoon sun after a delightful walk and dinner. And Megxit turned everything on its head, leave the royal family, go in disarray. They rebelled, they left the institution, and this was mind-boggling to Charles. Couldn't believe it when it happened. What were they thinking? What was going on? How do I handle this? Yes, I'll pay for the first year that you go off and you find your freedom and you find your feet and your new life. I'll support you, but after that you're on your own because you left us. What's coming up next with Charles and money and Harry in particular? What's going to be happening next? We got the Ace of Wands in reverse. Not good news for Harry, let me tell you. Ace of Wands in reverse. There's no new start here. There's no enthusiasm for handing over the keys to the kingdom to Harry and Meghan. Definitely not. With that Ace of Wands in reverse. This is bad news. This is a project that has gone awry, a road that is closed, a passion project that stops. The Harkles aren't going to be sharing any of the spoils that the royal family have. Their many centuries of being top of the coop, the hen house, the chicken house in the UK. So it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to change. There's nothing new going to happen here. And in fact, it could get bad. It could get much worse. It could get worse because of all this press and negativity and hostility and attack. And we've got the book coming and the reality show coming and all this nonsense coming. Some very, very, very toxic things coming, dangerous, difficult things heading Charles's way. He knows it. He's not interested in helping them. His attitude to Harry and Meghan right now, his intentions towards them, Harry in particular. Six of Pentacles, he'd like to be fair with them. It's the same as this Justice card. He'd like things to be balanced. He'd like to be able to give them stuff, their fair share. He'd like to help them. He's a kind, generous man, Charles. I don't think he's a particularly mean and nasty person. I think he errs on the side of being kind and forgiving and thinking the best of people. I think that's his problem. So he really actually would like to help them and be kind and generous to them. This is not malice. This is not ill will. This is not wishing ruin upon them, upon the House of Sussex. Not at all. But what pressure is he under right now with regard to the Harkles and money and Harry and money? He's under the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. The late Queen comes to mind, obviously. Taurus Queen. She's there. She's been there with the Hierophant in reverse. The fact is that Harry was treacherous, not to Charles. He broke Charles's heart, absolutely. But he was treacherous to the crown, the institution that his grandmother represented and served for 70 years. And Charles can't get past that. He can't, because even if he tries to sneak past it, the public is going to say, oi, but what about the fact that they disrespected the monarchy? What about the fact that they didn't bother? And Harry didn't bother to go to Balmoral, didn't go to Sandringham for Christmas, didn't show up, wasn't there in those last few days of the Queen's life when the Harkles were busy trotting about, showing off and doing their full royal tour of Europe. Why didn't they go and visit her? Charles can't get past this. This is an absolute block. The late Queen's reputation, the esteem she was held in and is held in, and the fact that it was his own mother who was disrespected like this and dishonoured, bombarded with begging calls while she was dying. Let's put it like it was and is still. So his hopes and fears, this financial situation, this mess, Knight of Pentacles. He wants Harry to be stable, always, 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 always. It's his son, even if it may not be his son, technically. It's his son emotionally, it's his son, his responsibility still. The Knight of Pentacles, he wants Harry to be stable, solid, safe, on a good footing, financially sound footing. He wants that to happen. That's what he's hoping for. He's hoping that all these things work out for Harry. I suppose even if it means that he himself is stabbed in the heart while all of this is going on. Too much sacrifice for me, but we have the ultimate sacrifice card here. Self-sacrifice, that's what the Hanged Man really is about. Someone who sacrifices themselves for the greater good. Not a good energy and a financial reading. Outcome, what's going to happen ultimately? And we get the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. It's not going to improve. And let's use that awful word, it's going to disimprove. It's going to get worse. Harry isn't going to get a huge big catching payday, not from Charles. It's blocked. Ace of Wands. It's not going to happen, and it's telling me absolutely it's not going to happen with that Wheel of Fortune there. But for Charles too, this is difficult. This is a situation that's not going to end well. It's not going to suddenly improve, because the Wheel of Fortune is about sudden twists and turns, and when you're in the darkest hour and all is lost, and suddenly there's a beam of light and you have hope again. That's what the Wheel of Fortune really is about, that turning point. And it's turning for the worse. Yeah, it's turning for the worse between father and son. And I'm sad to see that card, but I'm not surprised to see that card because we have, you know, who sitting at the heart of this reading, who is the cause of this problem, in my opinion, as a tarot reader. There she is with her toxicity, with her narrative that she's spreading far and wide at the moment. And there is the victim who can't seem to cut himself down from the tree. He's heartbroken. But ultimately, he would like to balance the situation. It's that hesitation, that indecision, very Shakespearean hesitation and indecision. Hamlet springs to mind, and we have things getting a whole lot worse as we go forward for Charles and for Harry. That is your rather unfortunate reading. Thank you as ever for watching and for supporting this channel, and I will see you again as we inch ever closer to the 8th of December and that first volume of the reality show, The Mind Boggles.